And the last one was a recent purchase, which I'm pretty sure I just got not that long ago. Huh? Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my May TBR. So, we are officially doing our very first filming in the new library space. So, over the course of the next few weeks, if you notice positions changing and lights changing, I'm just kind of figuring out what works down here, you know, because I love me some natural light, so I'm trying to use as much of that as possible. But today, we are here to film my May TBR, which I am excited about and also nervous about. May is going to be, I don't have any readathons in May, but I do have some kind of ambitious vlogging ideas. I have this vlog that I've literally been working on for quite literally years, and this I think is going to be the last month that I can realistically do it. So I'm kind of putting all my eggs in one basket and focusing on that said vlog. I have 2 vlogs planned for this month, so you should see 2, but it's the later one if you're curious what I'm talking about. So, I'm hoping this TBR is nice to me because I don't want to fit in too many thick things that aren't things that I'm already planning on reading for the month. So, as always, these are very tentative. I don't think I'm going to get to everything that I want to this month. We'll see. So, let's take a quick look at how we did in April before we dive into May's picks. Starting off, the first one was to read a subscription box book, so I chose 7 Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb. The next one was Best Friend pick. You guys saw that my best friend Lauren picked a book for me, and that one was Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. We had a book you bought new, so I had the 4th volume of Lore Olympus by Rachel Smith. The next one was a shorter book, under 300 pages. This one I chose An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. I don't know what I did with my copy. I might have unhauled it, but this is the one I chose. We then had a free read, which I originally put in the 4th book in the Fortuna Sworn series, but I decided to instead go with Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. We had Fake Dating or Arranged Marriage in some sort, so I did Happy Place by Emily Henry. We had an A to Z book, and I got the letter M, so I chose Misrule by Heather Walter. And the last book was a random number generator. I went on Goodreads, picked a random number, figured it out. What it gave me was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So I can happily say that all the books that I planned, I read. So I have gone ahead and planned my May TBR as the prompts came up, but I do have the option to kind of negate one of the prompts if I want to. I've decided to postpone negating it, and just because I put everything in and I kind of don't want to get rid of anything, but if we get to the end of the month and I feel like it's just too much, we may switch out around a prompt or 2, but I do have a reward to do that in May. So with that being said, let's dive into the very first pick. Pick number 1. Read a paperback. The first one was to read a paperback. So the one I chose for this was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is the 2nd book in the Bellinger Sisters trilogy. This is on my list of books to read by the end of the year. I'd like to get to it this summer. I do have a summer TBR planned coming your way. But spoiler, this is definitely on it. And I loved the first book in this series, and I'm very excited to dive into this one. Obviously, as you can see, it is a paperback. So this series follows 2 sisters, and this is the 2nd book, where we follow the 2nd sister named Hannah. And in the first book, they basically come to this fisherman town as punishment, and it's a romance between the other sister, whereas this one, it's Hannah and Fox, who is the best friend of the main guy from the last book. Basically, he's a ladies' man, and she has not kind of been enthralled with his charm. And so they decide to just be friends. They really like hanging out with each other, but she's good, they're good, they don't have anything else. So she comes back to this small fisherman town in this book for work and has a huge crush on a coworker, and Fox helps her out, or is kind of enlisted / offers himself as be able to help her land the guy that she works with. And so it's these 2 friends who he's trying to help her get a different guy. So of course that's not going to go as planned. But I loved the first book in the series. It was honestly like one of my favorite romances of all time. I didn't have a lot of hope for this author just because I'd read something by her previously and it was just kind of okay, and then this one came out and it was amazing, or the first one of the series came out and it was amazing. So I'm hesitant to go into this one just because I loved the first one so much, but I love a good rom-com and Tessa Bailey is a good one to have. So this is my paperback pick. Pick number 2. Oh, read a Tome, a book that is over 450 pages. All right, the next book is to read a book that is a tome or a book that is over 450 pages, which I've decided to go with another one that I'd like to get to sometime this summer. I've had this one on this list or on like my TBR forever, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but that is The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is an adult fantasy book. I don't know if it's the first in the series or if I made that up, but it is about pirates. So that's kind of what gives me that summer vibe to it. It is definitely over 450 pages. I'm in like the acknowledgements and I'm at 480. So this is definitely in the thicker realm of books. It's a subscription books. I got this. I think this was my very first adult Fairy Loot book that I got, and I've heard really good things about it, but I've never actually given it the time of day. But we follow our main character, obviously, Amina al-Sarafi, who is a pirate and has basically gone into retirement, but has been asked to come out of retirement for something very specific, and she decides to do one final job, and it's fantastical and all that stuff. I'm excited to see. I've never read anything by this author, but I've heard really good things about her and some other series that she has done that is definitely on my TBR. But it's, you know, it's ships, it's pirates, it's on the sea. We're gonna give this one a shot, maybe, and see what happens. But isn't this just this stunning Fairy Loot edition? Beautiful. Number 3. Oh, another A to Z book. All right, the next is A to Z book, which we definitely got last month. And I was realizing as I was filming this that in the process of moving down here, I usually take out last month's picks so I don't get them 2 months in a row. And they definitely got mixed back into everything. So we're going to have probably some duplicates. That's okay. We did A to Z book, like I said. And so I'll put it here because I definitely already did it. And I got the letter Q. So the one I'm going to go with, or the one I'm putting on this list, is another one of the books that I'd like to get to by the end of the year, which is Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the second book in the King of Battle and Blood, or not, that's the first book, the Isolde and Adrian, I think, series. I read the first one last fall when I did a big like vampire video, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. I got suckered into the story, which I was nervous about because I'd read the Hades and Persephone series, or at least the first book in that series by this author, and honestly didn't love it. So I was nervous about her writing, but it turned out just fine. So do I need to go find a recap of the first book? Yes, I do. But this is the second one. I loved it so much. So I think I have the audiobook, or I can get the audiobook from my library. So hopefully this will come in handy. If not, I have a couple of other books that starts with Q on the back burner if for some reason this one doesn't come through. But I'm really excited about it, and we'll see what happens with this one. But I should probably tell you what this book's about. My brain, y'all. This one obviously is a romance between our main two characters, Isolde and Adrian. Adrian's a vampire, and in the first book he comes to Isolde's kind of land. Her father's a king, and basically asks, they're creating a treaty so that the vampires kind of leave them alone, and his one request is that he marries Isolde, and she agrees because she's like, I need to do what's best for my people. And so her plan, I think, is to get to his land and then kill him, so that they get rid of this big bad thing, like person entity. And then, of course, nothing is ever quite what it seems. And I really enjoyed it and dove through most of that very, very quickly. So I'm excited to dive back into that world. Pick number 4. Here we go. We have, read an anticipated book. The next one is an anticipated book, and this is just one for me personally. It's not like a super hyped book, although this one I think is. It's just like one that I am very much anticipating, and I have chosen Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I know there's a sequel coming out, and I've not tried to pick it up because I want to see how I feel about the first one before I dive into that one. It's exactly what it sounds like. It follows our main character, Emily Wilde, who is trying to create this Encyclopedia of Fairies, and so she kind of goes on an adventure to investigate and collect data, and then there's another guy who ends up like crashing said excursion, and she's not sure if he's fae or fairy or not. So I don't know, I think it's a romance between the two of them. I've heard it's really like great cottagecore vibes. I know it's probably better to read in the winter because I've heard there's like snow and they get stuck in a cabin because of said snow, but you know what, we're reading it now and that's fine. So isn't it beautiful? I have this like beautiful edition that's like hardcover with no dust jacket, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So I want to get to this one to see if it's worth reading the second one. And I think a third one has just been announced. So we'll see. I don't know. It's giving me cozy fantasy vibes, and I'm curious to see if it's for me. Number 5. Read the longest book on your TBR. All right, the next one is one that when I got this prompt, I was actually very excited about it because this is the book in the vlog that I was mentioning earlier that is like one that I don't know if I'm going to get to after our daughter's born, so I want to get to it sooner rather than later, which is why May is going to be the month. So the prompt was the longest book on your TBR, and of course, the longest book on my TBR is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is terrifyingly huge. Now, granted, it's only about 800 pages. I know I say only, but still very long. But in comparison to like some of those 1,000-page books like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, it's not that bad. But I've heard mixed things. It's a high fantasy, which doesn't always work for me. It makes me very nervous to go in, but there's a very specific reason why I'm reading this. So stay tuned for the vlog that involves this book. But May is the month that I have chosen as the month that I'm going to dive into this one. Finally, I've had it on my shelves for 2 years. I literally bought it for the vlog that I'm doing, and I still haven't gotten to it. So take bets on what you think that vlog's about. But this is the one that I'm going with. It's a matriarchal society. It's a high fantasy. It involves dragons. It's over the course of thousands of years. I think it's just this fantasy world. Do I actually know what it's about? No, but high fantasy, dragons, matriarchal society, check, check, check. We're gonna see, but this is definitely the longest book on my TBR. This or like the third Crescent City book, but this one I think wins by just a little bit, according to the Goodreads, I think. But this is the one I'm choosing because it's for sure a chunker of a book. Number 6. Ooh, read a thriller or a mystery. All right, the next one is thriller or mystery, which I am so happy I got because for some reason lately I've just been like really craving like a good thriller or mystery, specifically the one that I have chosen. It's one that I got in a book of the month recently, and I just like for some reason have wanted to pick it up like right now. So what I'm choosing for this is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, which is, like I said, a mystery thriller about 2 women, and one of them is a podcast, like has a podcast. And this other woman, they kind of become friends because they go out one night and they happen to be at the same like pub or club, and they discover that they are birthday buddies. And so they kind of become friends because of that. And our main character, Alex, is the one who owns, I think, or has the podcast. And this other woman named Josie is the one who kind of like becomes friends with her. And so Josie kind of like puts herself into Alex's life a little bit, and then saying that like she's got a really interesting story and that she thinks that she would be a good person for Alex's podcast, and then straight up disappears. So it's a mystery between that. I've heard it's got like unreliable narrator situation, which I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about, but there's just something about this that's just, I need to pick it up right now. The mood reading for this book is real high. So we'll see. I've never read anything by Lisa Jewell. I'm not very well versed in the thriller vibe, but there's something about this one that's just calling my name. So we're going to give it a shot. Number 7. A cover, a random color generator. The next prompt that we got for this is yet again another random generator, and we got color, which I've definitely had last month. So I'll pop it up here. I did the random wheel, and I got this ridiculously bright yellow, like neon yellow. It's not quite neon, but it's bright. So this took a little finagling, but I think the one that I've chosen for this is actually an arc that comes out in June. So I have 2 arcs that I'd like to get to this month that both come out in June. This one comes out on the 18th, and it's called A Sure Thing by Joanna Lull. I've read a bunch of stuff by this author, and I think there's only one book that I have currently, as of recording this, haven't finished, but I'm technically still reading. This is her newest thing, and NetGalley let me have it. The reason this is on this list, as far as like wanting to read, because like I said, the last book, for some reason, I just am having a hard time getting through, is because it's a Victorian romance and one of the main characters is trans. And I have heard of one book that has done that, and it's literally on my list. A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall also has a trans main character and is a historical romance. So that was really what drew my attention. According to Goodreads, it says right here, is a delightful queer Victorian love story featuring a boldly brash trans hero, the beguiling botanist who captures his heart, and a buoyant bicycle race by the British seaside. So it's giving kind of summer vibes because it's on the sea and it's kind of like with the water. But again, because it has that trans main character, I'm so interested to see how that's going to work in a Victorian time period. So I do have the, like I said, I have an arc of this one, but if you look somewhere in this rainbow that's there's definitely that bright yellow, and there might be some in the water a little bit, but like in that rainbow for sure, that's got to be that bright yellow. So that's what I'm going to choose. It comes out, like I said, on the 18th, so I'm hoping to get to this one this month. If not, then I can maybe roll it over to the beginning of next month. We'll see as life progresses, but that's my plan. So we'll see. I needed to get this in somewhere. Finally, number 8. This one, which is a recent purchase from last month. And the last one is a recent purchase, aka something you bought within the last month. I have that specifically because there's also one in this, in like my TBR basket, that says just bought sometime this year. So this one is specifically from the last month. So I'm going to choose a book of the month book that wasn't a book of the month for last month. It was actually a book of the month for February, but I got it last month. And that is Heartless Hunter. And this is by Kristen Cicerelli. It's the first book in the Crimson Moth series. This is so crazy hyped right now. So we'll see. I have the audiobook from my library. It should get to me by the end of the month. I kind of put it on hold until the end of the month, so it should kind of like show up. I know this is a different cover and a different title in the UK. It's called The Crimson Moth in the UK, so you might have seen a few different things. This is a like enemies to lovers, witchy kind of story, but it was presented to me very, very similarly to Serpent and Dove, which is witch versus witch hunter. I know it's way more than that because it has like a secret identity. It says her deadliest enemy or her greatest love. And I've just heard really good things about this, and people who had very similar opinions to Serpent and Dove that I did, and liked just other books that I have liked, love this one. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. But this one I got last month in my book of the month books, and it may be crazy hyped, but we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. And I am nervous and excited all at the same time. So we'll see. we'll see what happens with this one. It was maybe one of the ones that doesn't get read, but like, I want to know, you know? And that's it as far as my actual TBR is. I have, like I said, a couple of vlog things planned. I've got a couple of arcs that I need to read. But as far as the plan, the TBR basket plan, this is what we've got. So I hope you enjoyed. We'll see what May holds. Very up in the air right now because of just life, but also like that one vlog that I keep mentioning is going to be my priority for the month. So we'll see what happens in May. But I hope you guys enjoyed my reading plans for May. Please let me know, as always, if you've read anything that I've mentioned in this video, what your plans are for May. Are there any readathons you're participating in? Is there any reading plans specifically that you have for May? Vlogs, buddy reads, whatever it is. Let me know all of your fun thoughts down below. If you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!